The Uganda we want. So mu Uganda gye twagala mu lutalo luno olw'okulwanyisa obulabbayo obukenuzi nze kyempita obuvundu. Munna Uganda alina okuba nga yeenyigiramu.
Ffenna twenyigire mu lutalo.
Ate abalala tebasomye kuzimba wabula bayize okuzimba.
Uganda gye twagala okulaba ng'enguudo zonna nkole nungi, public transport nga weeri.
Kati eno gavumenti eriwo erina akabonero ka Lucifer. Buli kyotunulako mu Uganda kiriko oxygen. Either babika amawulire malungi oba mawulire mabi. Minisita teyeetagisa kabangali budde buno zaki.
At this time, why should somebody import furniture from outside Uganda? Let us leave NRM to be in charge for another 36 years or more.
I really want to see a Uganda that believes in the rule of law. If you have a constitution in place, follow it to the letter. Don't change laws just because you want them to favor you.
Kuba njagala omanye nti obugagga bwonna Uganda bwe yeeyagaliramu buyita waffe ku ttaka lyaffe. Naye busoga mugidibaze.
How can a referral hospital refer you to a private clinic? The Uganda we want buli muntu ateekwa okumanya nti I am a stakeholder, nkwatibwako si kwesuulirayo gwa naggamba.
Uganda oyinza okukakana nga mwe mulina ba graduates aba university nga bangi okusinga Ebungereza. Mwe mufokasinga nnyo ku degree. Eri bo bafokasinga nnyo nti byensomye mbijeemu omulimu n'enkola.
We are dreaming of a Uganda where at a young age there is such a relationship between parent and son, parent and daughter, where the daughter can say this is what I want.
Uganda gye twagala empya tesobola kubeerawo nga tewali mateeka. Amateeka agakola.
The Uganda we want. Welcome to the program, The Uganda We Want, on Dream TV. My name is Malanzi. I'm so honored to be with you again in this edition of The Uganda We Want. As I always inform you, in this program, we host people, we host Ugandans who speak out their views on the kind of Uganda that they want to see. And of course, as they share with us their perspective, I encourage you to listen and as well do something after listening, because some of them give us practical solutions on some of the problems that are affecting our country. So if there is any practical solution that will be given out from my guest today, I want to encourage you to move out. Of course, it is night, but in the morning, I was going to say, just do it right away, but it's night. So I expect you to wait till tomorrow morning and do something. That is very key. At times we have people, especially the youths, who listen in, who take much time listening in and sometimes no time in implementing what they have listened to. So it is my call to you, my fellow Ugandans. Let's listen and as well do something. I want to as well let you know that Dream TV is now on Star Times satellite dish. Some of you have been asking us, okay, how can I watch Dream TV in Ketgum? How can I watch Dream TV when I'm in Nebi or West Nile or Padel or Yam? Right now, I want to let you know that if you have Star Times satellite dish, you can watch Dream TV. Just search for channel 531. Channel 531, you'll be able to watch Dream TV. But also, you can reach out to us on our social media platforms at The Uganda We Want on X and as well Instagram, and on YouTube, The Uganda We Want. There are people that we have hosted, and I believe if you listen to them again and again and again, you will be able to pick out something. But also, you can find Dream TV on all social media platforms. We do have an application that you can download on your smartphone. If you're on Android or Apple, still you can as well download Victory Uganda app. You'll be able to watch Dream TV. You'll be able to listen into Impact FM and also follow what is going on, and especially on this program, The Uganda We Want. All right, today we host Ambassador Kishemeire'S Patricia. She's with us, and she's going to share her perspective on the kind of Uganda that she envisions. And of course, first things first, let me welcome her to greet you, our viewers, and right away, she'll let me know, and of course, as she's letting me know about herself, you as well, you'll be knowing who she is. Ambassador, you're welcome. It's a pleasure for me to have you on the show, The Uganda We Want. Could you please greet our viewers and our listeners, and you let us know who is Ambassador Patricia Kishemeire'S?
Thank you, Mr. Robert, and Impact FM, for all the listeners and those watching Dream TV. I am delighted to be speaking on this very important and pivotal matter of the country and the Uganda that we want. My name is Patricia Kishemeire'S. Mpitibwa Patricia Kishemeire'S.
No Luganda
Olumanyi. I am born, raised, bled, and even studied in the Antonde district in a village called Chinuka. And the sub-county is Chinuka. Musaza lya Kabaka yebaita Kabura. So, yeah, Erie Kabura. So I am from central Uganda, and I did study, as I said, from the Antonde district. And as a young girl, I had dreams. I always wanted to be a lawyer. Alas, I didn't become one. But you know, when you're growing up, sometimes your dreams and visions are shaped by community. My community back in Chinuka sub-county shaped who I am today, because I was not just raised by my parents. My parents are living now, but I was raised by the community. Because I remember when I was in senior 3, my parents kind of failed to raise my fees to go back to school. I remember my father calling me and sitting me down and said, "You can't go as far as this because I can no longer handle." And from senior 3 up to senior 6, I was basically sent to school by my father's friends, the people in our community. Because I remember one night I was there, seated, you know, hopeless a bit, like saying I wouldn't go back to school, but my father came with his friends, and when they left, he called me and told me to prepare to go back to school. So I owe everything to my family, of course, but largely also to the community and society in which I grew up and was raised. And when I was there, the Baganda say, they have a saying that Mukama nazza bibye. When I finished senior 6, when I finished senior 6, now of course there was that whole issue of how do I now go to the university? Because, you know, it's not just me. I know a lot of youth out there and a lot of students. When it comes to university, it's a different story altogether. But I passed and got a government sponsorship at Chambogo University, and that's where I did my bachelor's in human nutrition. So
you're a nutritionist? I'm
a nutritionist.
Wow.
And I am a beneficiary of this government.
Wow.
So,
producer, get me my notebook. I want to live here with notes on balanced diet. I want to balance my diet since I have a nutritionist.
Yeah. So after university, actually before I could graduate, get out of Chambogo University, I started working far from here in Changwali refugee settlement. I volunteered for 6 months before getting my first job. Now, I am saying this on this TV as a story I am proud of, but also to encourage other youth out there. For every opportunity, it is going to come to you if you are positioned, if you're there. When it comes to things of employment and career development, it's not just going to come. You're going to be there and the opportunity is going to come and you will be there to tap into this opportunity. I volunteered in a refugee settlement for 6 months. While at Chambogo, I had run for guild president. That's when I entered, the political environment. So out of Chambogo, I knew a lot of people, to be honest, in NRM offices, but in other offices that supported me or were interested in my candidature while at Chambogo University. But I felt that I wanted to build my own thing out of the years. I'd spent years at Chambogo University, so I wanted to make meaning out of it. That's why I left and went to Chikuve district and started volunteering until I got my first job. I've built my CV in my career as a nutritionist. It's just recently when I came back and then got this responsibility of being an ambassador for the BRICS Forum. But the whole time I was working as a nutritionist. I've worked in different hospitals. If you've heard, a number of people address me as doctor because I worked in Bara Referral Hospital. I worked in Zambia. I've worked in children's clinic everywhere, in maternity wards. There are a number of things that I can do that other doctors do, so that's why they address me as that. So that's my journey as a student and how I came out. In 2017, while at Chambogo University, I was chanced to visit the Russian Federation under the auspices of the Office of the President of Russia, President Putin. He has a program. It's a youth summit that happens after, I think, 4 years. So that's how I went with a number of youth under the National Youth Council, and I visited Russia. And while there, I made social capital, like met people and kept in contact. This is another important thing. Money is important, experience is important, but it is something that people normally call connections, but I love to call it social capital because it's not passed on, it's not inherited, it's made. So the people I met in Russia then, when I finished, when this opportunity came for a representation of the BRICS Municipal Forum for a country like Uganda, it was just in a meeting, then someone mentioned, I know a lady in Uganda
I can take up this role.
Who can take up this. She has been with us, we've been talking to her, we met her, we think she can be. So I met, that was 5 years ago. I met these people 5 years ago, but of course we kept in touch, talking about patriotism, talking about how our economies can recover from the post-colonial era. And I contributed from where I was. So 5 years later, someone is reminded that there's this person in this country, she could be part of a bigger cause. I did interviews with a number of people. There was another Ugandan on the panel, and I waited, and that's how I got this appointment.
Okay, so I'm right to introduce you as ambassador.
Yes, because I am a special...
You're not just ambassador by name, but you're actually representing our country on the BRICS Forum.
Yes.
Well, yeah, you talked about Chambogo many times in your previous submission. But me, I'm interested in those schools that you went to back there in Kabula sub in Kabula County. What are those schools that you started from? Did you go for nursery? Did you go for primary and secondary? At least that will satisfy me at least. I want them to be proud as well.
Yeah. At that time, we didn't really have well-built kindergarten or nursery schools, but I did go for nursery. There was a sub-county hall somewhere in my village. That's where they put like a nursery school, and that's where I went. But I remember I went, it didn't really have a name, but it was part because I went to Chinuka Primary School. It's a universal primary education school. UPE receives capitation grants for UPE. It has since way back. And so they created a nursery in that hall that I have told you. And I went there for baby class, but I remember even my father tells me that while in baby class, they asked me to go to top, like before, I didn't go to middle, I skipped, then I went to P1. But largely, it's about Chinuka Primary School. That's where I went. From my primary 1 up to primary 7. There is a private school called Vine Hill Preparatory in my village. It came along the way, and then I left from Chinuka Primary to that school, but the school was not registered.
So you had to come back to Chinuka.
I did my exams, even my PLE, my primary living certificate, has Chinuka Primary. So that's where I went for my primary. Then for senior one, O-level, I went to a girls' school in Uganda called Chivubura Girls.
Chivubura Girls?
Yes.
I have been to Chivubura Girls.
Okay.
I know Chivubura Girls in Uganda.
Yeah, that's a very good school. That's where I went for O-level. And the other story I told you about, I was actually in Chivubura. So I did go back after what happened in senior 3 and completed my senior 4. And I did a first grade while there. And my people were happy. They were very happy about my performance.
Wow.
And then I went to my senior 5 in St. Teresa Girls, Uganda. Yeah. So it's a girls' school in Masaka, in Kalungu district, actually. Yeah, that's where I went for my...
Okay, that's where our MD comes from. Dr. Joseph Srada is from Kalungu district.
Okay. I'm proud to associate with that fact. And there I did sciences, biology, chemistry, and subsidiary math. And it's where I left going to Chambogo. I would like to thank my teachers and the leadership of St. Teresa Girls, because I don't want to imagine. Of course, God is always providing, but I would imagine if I had not done good points to have a government sponsorship, maybe. I don't know. But
yeah, well, it would have been another story for us to talk about. Yeah, it's good to hear your story. And here in the Uganda, we want, of course, when we hear such stories, we believe they encourage someone who is watching and listening in to as well not to lose hope. Like at your status and age, you have a message for the youth, and we believe that. And I'll try to speak to my boss to see if we can have you speak more to the youths. We have a program here called the Youth with a Purpose. Hopefully we can have you. But now, for today, which Uganda do you want to see? And that's a question that has brought me to your office for us to hear from you. But as well, I know you bring in this when you're talking about the Uganda I want to see. You were an ambassador on the BRICS Forum. What is BRICS? BRICS is boyogera ku buloka, as in buloka is in the nyumba. What I tell Ugandans would love to know that, and then you can digest the question, which Uganda do you want to say?
Okay, so BRICS is an economic bloc, like you hear G7.
Mm-hmm.
G7, the big five
The big-
economies of the world. And like you hear SADC, like you hear our own East African community. Yeah, because for a global world, the important part is always the economies. They can be political, there can be social reasons, but the biggest reason for all the blocks in the world is always about the economy. So BRICS was formed in the 1st century, and it began with the countries of, like you hear, BRICS. B is for Brazil, R is for Russia, India, China. Now, before South Africa did join later in 2010, but before it was BRIC with those 4 countries. Now, these countries, alongside the United Nations, decided that they could come together because their economies were growing faster, and they could start to influence the economies, on the global stage in the entire world. This is how BRIC was formed. But back in 2003, an economist called Goldman Sachs, he had projected that these countries of BRICS were on a fast track, of development, and they would overtake G7. The scrabble for superpower and all that. It has been here. Even organizations like the Non-Aligned Movement, our own, of which we are holding the presidency this year, was as a result of the struggle for superpowers, for who leads the world, who determines, the economic scales and the fiscal policies. So some of the African countries were always dissatisfied with the economies. They felt that they were exploited, but also there was an imbalance. There were more followers, and they were not deciding on the important issues in the economics. That's how some of the African countries, after the dissolution of the Soviet Union and after the United States became, the one Western superpower, African countries also came back and said, we need to regroup and find our self-determination. So this whole thing of blocks, superpowers, who determines, has been there since time immemorial, since the 1st century. And that's how BRICS started. After, I think, between 2002 and 2012, by that time, South Africa had grown, after they had regrouped and become BRICS, those countries. South Africa economic expansion was by about 41%, and Brazil 42%, and China was a whooping 117%. So those countries, by regrouping and trading together and finding themselves out of the whole ruckus of the world, they found that they could actually influence better the global stage in terms of economics. Because the biggest issue has always been the imbalance in power, the protectionist policies. We are always, it's just one country determining what we do. When the dollar falls, our prices here, our currency here becomes, a problem. They say, please, Africa, you need to create markets. But when the markets are created, our exports are closed out because someone somewhere decided that, they are not of good quality and all. So BRICS, basically, what they bring to the global stage in the economic world is that there's need for economic independence of every country. And one of them is that countries need to trade in their own currencies. They are looking at not replacing the dollar, as everyone says, but ending the hegemony that the dollar has caused. Because currently it, controls all the economies of scale of the entire world. But also is that they want to provide alternative financial systems. They have now created a bank, the BRICS Bank, Development Bank, So they're envisioning where countries can be able to still borrow, but at a very small interest, so that they can. The reason why a country like Uganda, we are grappling with debt, is because of the interest rates, and of course the high taxes.
Yeah, you can explain more on that. So you're saying when we borrow money, we borrow money on a high interest, and when it comes to paying back, definitely we suffer. We do suffer. That's why our debt is now actually close to 100 trillion. It's close to 100 trillion. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's that, but also it's also because of our domestic policies back home. Let me explain, for example, how hiking of taxes back home actually makes the debt burden even worse. It means, because the way, before we started this interview, you were saying that there are reports by Pasaid, you know, they keep saying our exports and imports are doing well. We have now 2.7 billion. I also looked at the report. But why is it not seen? When you look at our economy, why can't our economy mirror the things we have done? It's basically the biggest thing that can mirror the economy of any state is the domestic revenue, or how people are doing back home, before you think about how you're bringing money from direct investment, foreign investment.
Yeah, it's the same thing global I watch. Sorry to interject. They were saying that, okay, right now Africa's economy is now second. And then we're like, okay, does that mirror the African? Can we mirror that? Okay, if Africa's economy is now growing so far, now is in the second position now. Can we visibly see that in an African or in any African country? I think that's something to think about as you're explaining that.
Exactly, because for a country to stabilize economically, we need to build capital. But if the taxes, for sure, I am not saying that giving taxes is a wrong thing. It's corporate responsibility. We are supposed to give taxes. But what high taxes does, it impedes building of capital in an economy. For example, if a person wants to invest and they look at the taxes, they will just note. But also, people are not able to spend or invest because of, of high taxes. So this is what I started speaking about this from what BRICS is doing. And I have seen a number of reports and speeches from our president. He's also one, I would like to borrow his word. He calls BRICS the breath of fresh air. Yeah, because now there is a lot of, oppression from the superpowers. You remember Uganda as a country, we've been suffering from the time we signed the Anti-Sexuality Act. IMF, the threats and cutting the budgets and all that. But we need to shift from this, where self-determination of countries has nothing to do with the economic relationships they have with other countries. Because if World Bank comes and says, we are withdrawing our aid because you're
not agreeing with what we want you to agree with.
Exactly. we want you, this is because we are giving you aid. There is a story in the Bible about Sodom and Gomorrah. When God was going to destroy Sodom, Abraham was telling God, please do not destroy Sodom. And God said, if I find only 50 righteous people, I will not destroy Sodom.
Actually, Abraham yenyini yatandikanga mu namba tozikiriza wayinza okuba ataano.
Yeah, so they kept, then they came to 10 and they actually found one.
I call it a prayer of negotiation.
Exactly. They negotiated up to 10. Yeah. And Abraham had one time, saved Sodom from being attacked. And the king of Sodom wanted to reward him. But he said, I did my responsibility as a citizen, and because Lot is in this country, but I cannot take money from the king of Sodom because, of the sinful nature.
Yeah.
So we need a better platform for sure, for us out there to be Uganda and to make choices on the things we need and what we want to do, but also to remain relevant in the international community.
Wow. So then that brings me to ask you now the how. How can we achieve that? How can we achieve that?
Let me speak about BRICS. What BRICS presents to the world. First of all, BRICS now has 10 members. Now from the 4 to South Africa joining the Gateway to Africa, other countries January this year joined, and those include Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia is now part of BRICS?
Yeah, UAE, the king of oil.
United Arab Emirates.
Yeah, United Arab Emirates, Ethiopia.
Even Ethiopia.
Yeah, they have joined. So, but let me talk about the first big 5, like BRICS. First of all, those countries represent almost half of the entire world population. Substantially, for a growing economy, what population means, it means substantial market.
Oh, there is market.
Yes, there's market, of course. Economics is a game of numbers, as is politics. It's a game of numbers. You have big, then you consume more. That is it. But also, the reason why people have been talking about, G7 is the representation. The G7 countries is Canada, United States, maybe with Japan there as represented there. But it basically like one block. But Brazil, South America. Russia, China, Europe. China, and India, Asia. South Africa, Gateway to Africa, and many others. But also if you look at the GDPs of this country, BRICS has now actually taken over G7 in terms of GDP.
Yeah, so number one, you talked about the population.
The population
is huge. So that means there is ready market.
Ready market. And then I talked about the representation. You know how they picked these countries representing different regions, because every region has something unique to them. Africa we have what is unique to us, Asia and all that. So that representation is good, but also the economic clout of those countries. Now, that is why we feel BRICS is a better stage for us to go and play. But how is Uganda prepared? How do we participate and we actually benefit? Because the biggest issue is for countries that are struggling economically to relate with these, and then at the end of the day, they're exploited. But if you look at Uganda, Uganda has been trading with BRICS for so many years, actually. And we are doing well for individual countries. Our relationship with India, our relationship with China,
and Russia,
and of course Russia, and then South Africa. So we've been doing well, and our exports to those countries have also increased. But of course, there is always a problem of what do we export
Yeah, better before you bring in that, I'm reminded you wanted to talk about the GDP of these countries, the gross domestic product. So how is that, of interest for us to talk about?
For GDP, of course, what GDP shows is it shows how your economies are growing, very fast. That is it. But also it shows the power parity to negotiate in the economy. That also, like, if you're together, for example, I want to give an example. I had colleagues and we were applying to South Africa for a scholarship for a master's. I was in Uganda and those other ones. One was in Nigeria, and So when we are applying, I looked at the conditions of these other people because they are in this grouping of SADC, and Uganda is not part of SADC. They have better benefits. You understand?
Their negotiation powers are a bit high.
Yeah. When you apply for a scholarship or for anything for that matter, and you are in this grouping, there is a way, they are going to look at you first and they're going to make it easy for you. So it's that the negotiation ability, these countries together, their GDP being that huge, everyone wants to trade with them. Everyone wants a market in those countries. I mean, everyone wants to identify with them.
Because they will not exploit me.
Exactly.
When I bring something of high value on the market, I'll be able to benefit from than them benefiting from it. Okay, I get you.
Now, a country like Russia and China, you cannot, by the way, you cannot use the dollar in Russia right now. It has to be the Russian ruble. Of course, they are also allowing the Chinese one.
Wow. Because already they are like, I have the population, I have the market, and my GDP is good. So
yeah, and they have already made transactions between Saudi Arabia and Russia. They have already made transactions in their local currencies. But are we able to do that in any African country right now? I like to actually listen to the African presidents. And I heard President Ruto saying, why do I need to go to Algeria or Niger and use a dollar to buy something? You understand? That's the picture. Our economies will be better if our currencies also, hold better. But I was talking about how Uganda can then benefit by trading with BRICS. And the president did say that this Uganda supports the efforts of BRICS. And when the time is right, they will want to join. But as we think about joining the bloc.
Oh, so officially we haven't joined the BRICS?
Yes, we haven't.
Okay.
We haven't joined.
So for now, as we close up our episode today, I just want to know, so what is now your role? Because you can tell me that then in the second episode, we'll talk about how can Uganda tap the benefits in BRICS.
Okay.
So what is your role now? Because I'm a bit confused and I want to know.
I guess you are. Okay, so BRICS has a format called the BRICS Plus. Or the BRICS Municipal Forum. Now, this is to accommodate countries who are not necessarily the big members, the other 10 I told you about, but already have working relationships with these countries in BRICS to basically involve them in development, and go ahead.
Okay.
As they prepare themselves, whether to join or not to join, there's a lot already going on. A number of Ugandans have signed cooperations at the BRICS Municipal Forum for trading, for even in other sectors. I led a group of 11 people, including mayors of cities, last year in November, and they met with other cities from the regions of Russia and these BRICS countries. So I am now representing that format.
Okay.
It's called the BRICS Municipal Forum. Yeah, I'm representing that format here in Uganda.
So in case, as a country, we sit down and say, okay, now we want to join the BRICS. That means we will rely, first of all, on your information as our ambassador on the BRICS Municipal Forum. Right? Am I right? Okay. Yeah. So that means at least we have someone. But as you said, already we are trading with these countries. But when it comes to, some things have to be made official, people to value what is going on and so on. That's what now the step that we are looking at.
Yeah.
So are you encouraging the country to go that way?
Of course, I am not working in just me. I'm working with a number of entities. I am doing my work under also the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. For every activity I have to do, I have to report to the Ministry of Affairs, but also working in closely with the embassies. Uganda, for us to really be relevant, we already are relevant out there, and we have set our stage as a country. But like I told you, what we take to these countries and what they bring to our country is where the imbalance is.
Okay. Ambassador, allow me. We talk about that imbalance in the second episode.
All right.
Thank you so much, our viewers. Let's keep it up right there. And we will start from there next time. This is the Uganda we want. You've heard it from Ambassador Patricia. You as a Ugandan, I ask you, what are you going to do to ensure that we achieve the kind of Uganda that we want?